In previous versions of Odoo, there was one particular module that was a little bit complicated, maybe a little bit confusing to use, and it kind of put people off using it. And now in Odoo version 19, they've modified that app to make it simpler, easier to use, but people are still a little bit scared to use it because they remember what it was like in previous versions. And that is the expenses module. So in this video, we're going to have a look at what's changed in the expenses module, how you now use the expenses module so that your employees can achieve everything in Odoo. So first of all, what is the expenses module? What are expenses? Expenses generally are what your employees need to pay for on behalf of the company or something that is work related while they are out of the office or when they're not able to submit a proper purchase order for the goods and it doesn't go through the normal purchase process. Obviously, if you're buying stock for the company, there are processes to go through for submitting a purchase order and getting the invoice and things like that. And that would all be handled in the normal purchase module. But expenses are for things like when your employee is entertaining guests and they're paying for a meal, or if they're on a job and they need to quickly go to a shop and buy a particular tool or a particular piece of equipment that they need to be able to complete the job. Maybe they pay for it out of their own pocket, or maybe they want to use a company credit card or some kind of expense account that you've given to them so that they can continue on with their job without having to come back to the office, raise a purchase order, send it to the supplier, etc., etc. And that's what the expenses module is for in Odoo, to help your employees to submit those expenses, for someone to approve those expenses, and for them to either be reimbursed or for the company to be able to pay for those expenses and record what's been paid for correctly, and also to be able to recharge those expenses to the customer if that is your policy, if that's something that needs to be done. So let's have a look at how Odoo handles your expenses for you. Let's open up the expenses module, and you'll see here by default it takes you to My Expenses, which is expenses that you have submitted to the company either to be reimbursed or to make sure that they are handled correctly. It shows you a list of all the things that you're claiming, what they are, how much it's for, and the status of those expenses. Now, how do you add a new expense into the system? Well, there's a number of different ways. The easiest way is to scan in or take a photo of the bill that you're trying to claim for, and then you can literally just drag and drop that bill straight into Odoo, and as you let go, it will go away and it will create an expense. It will also attempt to read that bill using Odoo's AI to try and pre-fill it and to work out what it is that you're claiming for. In this demo site, I don't have the AI enabled. There are other possible methods for submitting your expenses to Odoo. You can send in an email or forward an email that has your bill attached, either a PDF or an image. You send it to a specific email alias that's set up in the system, and Odoo will turn that into an expense claim for you to be verified. The other option is to use your mobile phone, your mobile device. While you're out and about, you can take a photo of the bill that you're trying to submit and directly in Odoo attach that photo and create an expense claim from there. So let's have a look at what it's done here. You can see it's attached the image that we've uploaded to this new expense record, and we can put in the details. So this one was customer equipment. It was an AI generated image that I've used, so it may not be entirely suitable, but let's say that this is general expenses is the product. The total that we paid was $391 in this instance. It's worked out 15% tax will be $51. Yep, that's okay. That's what it says on the bill. Who the employee is, it's me by default, but it might be that I'm putting expenses on for someone else if I'm an expense manager or something like that and they've given me the bills. And this one is important, reimbursement. Are we reimbursing the employee, paying the employee back for this particular expense? Are we not reimbursing it because the company paid for it? The employee used a company credit card, company debit card, or similar? Or are we reimbursing them on their payslip? So we're not paying them separately, we're just going to add it to their payslip and we're going to pay them back. In this instance, we're going to say that we're going to reimburse the employee, maybe with petty cash or something along those lines. Make sure the date is correct, make sure the company is correct. It will default to the company that the user is logged in with. If there is a manager, it should fill this automatically. The manager would be responsible for validating the receipt and make sure that the expense is actually a valid business expense. And obviously account here is what account this would go to in the accounts, on the chart of accounts, on your trial balance or whatever. All of this can be configured. There's a lot of defaults and things that can be set up. So for example, if we have a look at the product here and we go to the internal link to the product, we see like a cut down version of the product form from the system. So we can set what the default cost for this would be. We can set what category this would be. So that might affect how it gets valued in the system and how certain rules are applied. We can set the expense account explicitly. So if this is meals, we might want to set this to an entertaining account on the chart of accounts so that it gets handled correctly as entertaining costs and not as cost of materials or something along those lines. We can also set what the default tax is we would expect to be on this system. And we can also set here the re-invoicing policy. Is this something that we re-invoice to the customer? We can either say no, it's not. We can say yes, we do at cost, or we can say yes, we do at a sales price, and then we can set a sales price on a price list for this product that we would recharge this to the customer for. So let's go back to our expense. We're happy that we've got the right bill on, we've filled the details out, and we submit this as the employee, submitting this to the company for approval. And that will now go to whoever it is that has been set to approve our expense. Now, I'm logged in as an administrator, so I approve my own expenses. So it has automatically approved it. But if that wasn't the case, as the admin, we can come back to the My Expenses, take out the filter for My Expenses, and we can see all of the expenses of other people that have been submitted, either approved or refused. So for example, let's find one here. If we go to the filter and we'll say waiting approval. So it's got these ones here also from Mitchell admin. So we could have a look at this bill, for example. This was for travel and accommodation. They put in a description of hotel, plane, taxi, etc. It was for $2,000 with tax. The account, we can work out whether that's the correct one for it to go to. It's gone to expenses. Maybe we want it to go to travel costs or something like that. And it's being reimbursed to the employee. Yeah, I'm happy that this is correct. We can approve this, and that will now be ready to be paid. In this state, we then have a post button. So this means actually put it onto the accounts to recognize this as an expense on the accounts. So we post it. It's asking what journal do we want to post it on, the default being the purchases journal. That's fairly sensible, but you might have different ones set up. For example, you might have one specifically for expenses set up. So we might want to use the expense journal, and we can post the expenses on that journal. And then we get a pay button. So this is now a vendor bill on the system. You'll see that it's changed to the vendor bill appearance. So we have got to repay Mitchell admin in this case. It's a vendor bill for hotel expenses. If we had an uploaded bill, it would be attached here. And we can now pay this as if we were paying a normal vendor bill. So we don't have to manually create the vendor bill or anything like that. Odoo has done that for us. This used to be a much more complicated process. It used to be a two-step process for submitting it. There was another step involved in approving it. So Odoo have really simplified the system down to make sure that it's very easy for people to claim their expenses when necessary. There is, however, an even easier way that Odoo can handle expenses for you. If we go back to the expenses module and we go into configuration, we have here expense card. If we turn this option on and we save and we reload this page, Odoo has an integration with Stripe issuing, which allows you to issue either virtual or physical cards to your employees, which are linked to your company's Stripe account. And they can use those cards to pay for their expenses, and then they don't have to submit an expense report anymore because the card sends the information directly back to Odoo and submits the expense report for them. And because it's come from a company card, it's already paid for, so you haven't got to repay the employee. Stripe issuing obviously is a service that you have to sign up for separately. You have to confirm to agreeing to their terms and conditions. There are fees to pay, so you have to make sure that you review what those fees are. But Odoo will let you manage all of those virtual cards and those physical cards from within the interface. So, for example, you could issue a new card to an employee. You can give it a name. The name's not important, but you can say who the card holder is. So in this instance, we'll say Mark Demo, for example. You can say whether it's a physical card or a virtual card. A virtual card will appear in the UI as a card so that you can give them the card number, etc., used for online purchases and things where you're not in person making the purchase. Or you can ask for a physical card, which will then ask for a delivery address. So you can give them the delivery address of the employee to have the card delivered directly to them from Stripe. And then that card will be activated and they can use it. They can walk into shops and they can purchase things with their card. And each purchase that they make will go through Stripe back into Odoo, and Odoo will be able to categorize and be able to see the information of the purchase that they've made using that card. For each card that you issue, you can set limits for how much they can be used. So you can set a limit based on per day, per week, per month, year, or all time. So they just have a fixed amount that they're allowed to use on the card. And you can set an amount per transaction that they're allowed to use. So it might be they're not allowed to use the card for anything over €50, $50, £50, or whatever currency you're in. You can also set the categories of purchase that the employee is allowed to use them for. It defaults to allow all purchases, but you could set categories of expenses that would be allowed. So, for example, they wouldn't be allowed to use the card to go and purchase toys for their kids because they're only allowed to use it for materials or for petrol or something along those lines. So there are a lot of restrictions that you can put on the card, and that will literally prevent them from being able to use the card for those purchases because the card is being processed by Stripe, who would then deny the purchase. So a very easy way, again, to manage the cards, to be able to limit their usage and to be able to keep control of what your employees are allowed to claim expenses for. So what do you think? It's actually quite straightforward now in Odoo version 19 and above to manage the expenses of your employees. Have you tried it? Are you interested in trying it perhaps? If you want some help with setting this up, maybe getting your Stripe account set up, then feel free to give us a call and we'll be happy to take you through the process and assist you with getting everything sorted out. Thanks for watching. I hope you've enjoyed the video. I'm El Bristow. This has been Everything in Odoo, and we will see you in the next video.